Hey, everybody, this is Tell the Truth Sports Radio, and I promise to tell you the truth about what's going to go on in college football. I'm going to talk a little NFL action and Major League Baseball, what's going on, who's hot and who's not, who's in good shape to make the playoffs. But I first want to talk about college football. It's the week that I've waited for. I love it's one of my favorite sports. I love these matchups. By the time I air this program, Iowa and Maryland would have already played, so they're going to play. That's a good one. Iowa going to Maryland, and Tua's brother is quarterback in Maryland, and Iowa's number 8. That's a good one. BYU going to Utah. Michigan, can they go win in Wisconsin? They've been getting beat up by Wisconsin all the time, but Michigan's 4-0. Arkansas, the game I'm going to be talking about. Georgia at noon. Notre Dame at 2:30. Cincinnati. Oregon going to Stanford. Can Oregon keep it going? Can Oregon be that Pac-12 team that be the playoffs? Baylor, number 21. Baylor is number 19. Oklahoma State. 2 undefeated teams, and the Big 12 could use one team that could emerge, whether it's Oklahoma, Baylor, or Oklahoma State. And you got Auburn versus LSU, 2 teams that are 3-1 or 3-1 and under fire after LSU's underwhelming loss to UCLA the first game of the season. And then Auburn, that debacle against Georgia State where they should have lost. And then Alabama and Ole Miss, the game I'm going to start with. And man, I'm going to look forward to this game at 3:30 in Bama. This is Alabama's toughest game at home. Their next toughest game could be at Arkansas. I'm not crazy about A&M, but they got a road game against Arkansas. Auburn could play over their heads and give them some type of trouble because they always give Alabama trouble in Auburn. But I'm staking my claim that this is the toughest game because of the style. Lane Kiffin was with Nick Saban for 3 years, helped improve Alabama's offense. Now Alabama runs the spread and RPOs, and they run it well. They run it well. Once Nick Saban learns a trick, he gets it. So whatever relationship they had, it worked on the field. And Kiffin's done a good job with Ole Miss, and he's grown up. I listened to his interview. He's matured. He's in a good place. He's in a good place psychologically and coaching wise. And Matt Corral is the dude. I'm so looking forward to seeing this because Matt Corral is the type of guy that has given Alabama trouble, the running and the passing type quarterback. 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 997 yards passing. And they got early that runs it, but they usually get in the spread. Like they played Alabama and they got in the spread, and their motion offense. And Alabama had a lot of trouble with Florida, the same style. But the problem is Matt Corral's a lot better. And Drummond can flat out play at receiver. Mississippi they always get NFL receivers. And Drummond's no different with 4 touchdowns. But now the Ohio State transfer on Alabama side is good. Jamison Williams. Alabama gets these really good route runners who run. If you looked at all the great receivers that Alabama had, and they all are great crossing route runners. They run those crossing routes that are 10 yards deep and end up 80-yard touchdowns because of how precise they run the routes. They're going to need that. They're going to have to put points on the board. I don't think they're going to be able to completely stop Mississippi, but you got to factor something else in. Regardless of what we talk about, the numbers and stats and analytics, Nick Saban is probably, for the last 2 weeks, been all over his defense after that Florida game. And everybody's this week is saying, Ole Miss is going to light these dudes up. Ole Miss, Alabama's got a good defense, and maybe they'll get improved, but they're going to have a lot of trouble with Matt Corral. And I know Nick Saban's pounding that thought in. Matt Corral is the favorite for the Heisman. Now, I look on the other side now. Bryce Young, 1,000 yards passing already after 3 games, 15 touchdowns, 1 interception for a freshman. And what I notice about him is he can make all the throws, his poise. And a lot of times, guys who are not super tall, who are pretty athletic at the quarterback position, they can run first. But this guy is a terrific pocket passer. And I'm thinking, okay, he's too short. This is not going to work. It doesn't matter. He has Drew Brees-like potential. Now, when is the day he gets rattled as a freshman? I just wonder, when does that day come? Does it come? It hasn't come. Now, Brian Robinson Jr. is running, keeping the ability to sustain drives, I think is going to help, because they're going to have to keep Corral off the field. You don't want their defense, Alabama's defense, on the field with a bunch of snaps, and Lane Kiffin's offense where they run that high-powered, quick striking offense. And Corral could run really good. So that's the problem. And Ole Miss's defense has gotten better. They line up in a basic formation, and they feel like they got the athletes to stop you. I don't think that works against Alabama. It did work last year. That the defense got a little better than what Alabama did to them with 63 points. But I got a feeling Bama is going to pull it out in a real close game. Would not surprise me if Ole Miss won, because Ole Miss has the history of beating Alabama in 2014 and 15, but Bama's home. I think Nick Saban's drilling the fact that nobody expects them to do good on defense. And that's going to be I want to see how the Alabama linebackers deal with the quick striking offense of Ole Miss. Now, the next game is the really game that intrigues me. This is one of the better a lot of times new games aren't good. This is the best new game I have seen in a while. It's Georgia and Arkansas. Arkansas coming to Georgia. It's physical versus physical. Georgia's defense has been sick. That's how good they've been. They beat up Clemson. They beat you up. They physically shut you down. They get after you. They're big and they're strong. And on offensive defense, they got a ton of NFL draft picks. Arkansas is as physical as Georgia. This is Sam Pittman. He was offensive line coach of Georgia. He knows Georgia well. It is still the mentality. Now, they come off an emotional win, which concerns me, but I got a feeling they're going to be up for this one too. And they have a mentality that we're going to walk into Georgia. We're not scared to go into Georgia. We're not scared of your defense. We're going to run the ball just like we ran on Texas A&M. We got KJ. And can he do what he can do? I'm looking forward to that, because he played well until he got hurt. And now if Mr. Jefferson can continue his good play, I mean, he has 6 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but it's his ability to run the ball. It's his ability to play like Cam Newton did, big, strong quarterback. Their bell cow is Traylon Smith, their running back, who is a power runner. And is Traylon Burks, who caught a long pass last year, is he healthy? Because they're going to need him healthy if Jefferson can complete the pass. Now, Georgia is a power running, power passing team. I say power passing team because the fact that Brooke Bowers has 4 touchdown passes. He's a tight end. Washington's a big, strong tight end. He's coming off the injured list. So they got two powerful tight ends that they go to. It's a little different than most teams like to go to receivers, but Georgia is going to just beat you up physically. Arkansas is physical on defense. Georgia is physical on defense. Georgia is physical on offense. Arkansas is physical on offense. What gives in this game? They're going to be throwing body blows all game long. I just think Georgia has a slight edge because they're home. I understand they're big, I think an 18-point favorite. Arkansas is going to cover. But Georgia, they had a week off because they beat Vanderbilt. So they're fresher. Arkansas had a big emotional win. They're not as healthy, but they're going to come in. They're going to give Georgia all they can handle, but I believe Georgia's going to come out the winner. Now, Cincinnati and Notre Dame. I'll tell you, Desmond Ryder's been talking trash. He said, I ain't going to worry about the crowd noise. Well, ain't going to be no crowd noise. We're going to be ahead. And then he said, they're in our way. They're one step in our way. Like he's dismissing them like, okay, it's another game. He's talking to Notre Dame like they're like Tulane. And he's saying, we're going to do, and they're a deep ball throwing team. They got a good kick returner. They're explosive. I don't like their tackles on the offensive line. That's what Notre Dame could take advantage. Notre Dame defense is getting better. And Mark Freeman was the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati. He's at Notre Dame, and they're getting better. I haven't been blown away by Notre Dame's offense. But I just want to see if Notre Dame can run the ball. They haven't run it well. And, Kyron Williams I like, but he hasn't run it well. He's due. I wonder if they're going to unleash him. Jack Cohn has played well, 9 TDs, 2 interceptions. But this is an interesting game in Notre Dame. Everything about this, I want to really, really say Cincinnati's going to win. I think because they're not as strong on the tackles, Notre Dame makes enough plays to squeak by Cincinnati. Would not surprise me if Cincinnati won that game. So there you have it. That's the college report. Got a lot of other good games, Michigan, Wisconsin, Oregon, Stanford, but those were the big games. Now, if Michigan wins and they stay undefeated, now do guys like me and the rest of the big mainstream media take them serious? Can Oregon go undefeated? Can you have an undefeated team out of the Big 12? The Pac-12 are undefeated. If they have if you have an undefeated team in the Pac-12, undefeated team in the Big 12 at the end of the year, I don't know if that's going to happen. Say, for instance, an undefeated Cincinnati, Alabama, and Georgia, if they take care of business, which is not going to be easy, a lot of minefields. Georgia got Florida on their schedule. Ole Miss, I believe they have on their schedule. Not going to be easy, but and if Arkansas wins, they're in the mix. So whoever comes out of the SEC and then whoever is the second team out of SEC could get in if somebody out of the Pac-12 or Big 12 lose. But if they both go undefeated and Cincinnati's undefeated, there's no path. I think they'll just take the winner of the SEC because I'm assuming they're going to take the winner of the Big 10, whoever emerges out of there, because of how much better and balanced the Big 10 is, because Michigan State's better. Michigan's better. Iowa's really good. Penn State's good. Ohio State is coming back to the pack, but they're capable of getting to the Rose Bowl or whichever bowl they'll be in if they get in the Final Four. So whoever comes out of the Big 10 is going to make it. But I want to see the Big 12 and the Pac-12 and either whichever independent wins this game. I mean, Cincinnati's in Conference USA, I believe, but Cincinnati and Notre Dame, whoever wins that is the wild card if they continue. They both those teams have to go undefeated or they forget it. But if one of those go undefeated, like if Cincinnati goes undefeated, they beat Wisconsin. I mean, they beat Indiana, who's pretty good. They beat Notre Dame. Is that enough of a resume? But I'm getting ahead of myself. This weekend's when I'm doing my report after all these games are done, we're going to have a decent idea of who's who going forward. This is the NFL report. Now, let's talk about the big matchups. Yeah, I know Brady versus Belichick. This is why I'm not going to talk about that. It's going to be talked about like crazy. Neither of those are the top teams in their conference. If the Patriots were the Patriots of old, and Tampa is the best team in their conference, which they're not. They're still a playoff team. Oh, yeah. Okay. Maybe it's a Super Bowl matchup. It's not. The Patriots not going to make the playoffs. They have a young quarterback, good defense, young quarterback, not ready yet. And Tampa's got cornerback issues because they went and called Richard Sherman off the street. I told you before the season started, that's going to hurt them. But there is the best game of the day is the Rams and the Cardinals. The Rams, you look at this matchup. I always like the matchups, the game within a game. Sonny Michel, I love what he brings. I understand that he's not their leading rusher. Darnell Henderson is, but Sonny Michel is the in-between type of running in between the tackles type of a running back that Sean McVay loves because it gets his passing offense in motion once you get those 5 to 6 chunk yards. And you could run on Arizona. Arizona's got a good pass rush. Now, J.J. Watt hadn't got going, but Chandler Jones is a star, and you know they're very aggressive, quick defense. But you could run on them, and the Rams can exploit that, and that could get Stafford going. Matthew Stafford, I told you as soon as he got traded, I said, this is the team that's going to go to the Super Bowl because this is all they needed was a dynamic throw of the football, which he was, even on those lousy Detroit teams and Detroit teams that he helped get to the playoffs. And then some of them were lousy, but he was always good. I always loved him. 9 touchdowns and 1 interception in 3 games so far and counting. And he's going to get his. He's going to get his. You got Cooper Kupp, who is absolutely balling. He's the number 1 receiver, 5 touchdowns, 367 yards, and 25 receptions. And his route running is ridiculous. And that's what I love about the Rams. You know, Woods, their route running, their system, they're going to need it because their line has been great. But it's going to really have to be great against a good pass rush that the Cardinals have because they beat up Tennessee that first game. They were all over Tannehill. But the biggest key of this game is what Aaron Donald does and his disruption and how can he catch up to a quick, the quick Kyler Murray who's shifty, but he's been getting sacked a little bit. Jalen Ramsey versus Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins, what a great matchup. And Jalen Ramsey is a shutdown corner, bro. I mean, he'll talk the talk, but he walks that walk. And I like that. But AJ Green's been an X factor. Christian Kirk is playing well. AJ Green has 5 receptions for 112 yards. So the Cardinals are playing good. They play with a lot of confidence. This is going to be a real good game. And they're going to have opportunities. Cardinals going to score. I think it's going to be a close game. I give the Rams an edge because of the fact that they can control the ball and control the time and the line of scrimmage, which is so important in this game. I think you'll look in this game as the time of possession because the Rams, with Sonny Michel running, with Henderson running, with their ability to convert on third down because of the superior route running of Cooper Kupp and Bigsby and Woods. And then listen, Jackson, are you kidding me? I thought he was done. I thought Deshaun Jackson was done. He could still run that 75-yard deep post route to a T. He's one of the best ever running that route. And now you got a guy that can blow the cover off of the defense. So you can't just stuff the line of scrimmage and say we're going to take these short route runners away. Because you do that, D. Jack's going to get behind you like he did against Tampa. This is why this is a Super Bowl team. And Aaron Donald is the best. T.J. Watt and Aaron Donald are close. because DJ Watt, I'm still a fan. That's my heart. Aaron Donald, maybe slightly better because he's older, and I'll say it that way. But he's so incredibly disruptive because he can go inside, he can stop the run, or you can line him up outside. And with the Rams and their personnel and their front seven and Ramsey in the back end, now they gave up a lot of yards, but that was like empty calories last week because they were throwing Tom Brady around like a rag doll. It's going to be a little harder with Kyler Murray because of the way he runs, but they'll get to him enough to win this game. The other game, there's a lot of games. The other game I'm intrigued by is Baltimore going to Denver because Denver's undefeated. Baltimore got that 67-yard kick by one of the best kickers of all time, and Tucker. But now you can't rely on that. Well, I mean, in Denver, you never know, but Bridgewater's balling. 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. And Melvin Gordon is running pretty good. Now Baltimore's front's pretty good, but they're missing people in the secondary. Lamar Jackson's their lead, of course, he's their lead rusher and passer. Denver's got a solid defense. Hollywood Brown's having a good year. Bridgewater and Jackson, 2 similar quarterbacks. Bridgewater's a little more in the pocket. Jackson's a little more better runner. This is a prove me game because Baltimore's looked okay at 2-1. Denver's undefeated. If Denver wins and they're still undefeated, I got to take a long look at Denver. If they lose, I'm like, okay, maybe they started. They're an 8 win team. They win and go 4-0. Quarter of the season done. That's big. And they have to because the winner of Las Vegas and the Chargers are going to be right there. So you got the Chargers, the Broncos. Chargers and Raiders are going to be great Monday night. And when I'm done, I do my Sunday show, and then I'm going to kind of separate that and make that a separate show to talk about the Chargers and Raiders. But my gosh, what a great. That's the best matchup. The best Sunday matchup is the Rams and Cardinals. The most intriguing is the Broncos and the Ravens because that's a prove me game. It allows me to, whoever wins, it allows me to say, okay, this team is trending right direction. The loser's like, they're kind of middle of the road.